Nirvik was listed as one of the 25 young rising stars in India by Business Today, and honoured with the title of National Agency Head of the Year by Media Magazine in 2003. Flagship brand. He is intimately involved in all major sponsorships for Tiger Beer. This includes successful soccer properties, Tiger Cup, Tiger Fives, and currently Barclays Premier League. Please welcome first Nirvik Singh.
Good afternoon. The format for this session is really to talk about understanding and targeting the Asian consumer. And then Edmond will run you through a case study on one of Singapore's most iconic brands like beer. At the Great Group, over the last 4 years, we have now engaged in a huge proprietary research on Iron Asia. We have met over 33,000 respondents in about 17 or 16 countries. And Iron Asia has built a notion of listening to and building emotional bonds with consumers enables business owners to find differentiation in their business going forward. Our focus has been to get closer to the people of Asia, and the research really uncovers Asian life today and tomorrow, what people are hoping for, what their dreams, aspirations, and the need states are. What are the fundamental building blocks to build a great brand in the Asian Pacific region, and what do people actually call for in advertising and marketing. Having said that, today we're going to focus on some of the fundamentals of building blocks of a great brand in Asia Pacific. The study is done by WPP's one of our sister companies, the Kantar Group. As I said, it's in 16 markets across the length of the continent. Every year we meet at least between 8 and 10,000 consumers. And the sample size is based on panels from each country which represent the socioeconomic strata and the demographics of that nation. We also do a huge study on retail, and we do ethnographics with retail, where we get involved in the life of consumers by actually following them into stores, by looking at how they purchase. Interestingly, in a continent where modern trade coexists with high-frequency stores and mom-and-pop stores, what happens at a retail outlet often dictates the fate of a brand. An interesting statistic, 70% of shoppers, when they enter a super or hypermart, make their decisions in the store, as opposed to 80% of people who shop at high-frequency stores decide on the brand purchase before they leave their house. So clearly, there are differences that take place in different retail outlets. What you'll also see on this slide are drawings, and these drawings are really from the respondents themselves, who talk about their life, and we encourage them to actually paint pictures for us to understand later on. Overall, while what has happened in Asia and between last year and now, the impact of recession, well, money is down. And having said that, the Asian consumer is behaving differently from the past. Surprise, surprise, they're actually beginning to save money, they're cutting spends, and they're buying smart. And by that I mean that often they're replacing in their basket of products either cheaper or more value products that are coming in, and they're reevaluating their brand relationships. The Asian consumer reacts to recession faster, and unlike 1997, we're seeing less downtrading taking place. We're seeing different markets react differently. We're seeing China and India react completely differently. We're seeing China in the A-class cities of, let's say, Beijing and Shanghai. There is still cautious optimism. While in Mumbai and Shanghai, Mumbai and Delhi, for example, the trend is similar. However, in China, in the sort of SECC cities, we're seeing, because of lack of employment and some of the other things that are taking place, less spend, as opposed to in India, in the smaller cities, because of the agrarian economy taking part, we're actually seeing an uptrade taking place in the economy. So really, there are 4 big themes that are coming across for Asia, and that today the consumer is looking for experience over materialism. And if you look at some of the numbers, and you see that the Asia average above there is 86, you will see a lot of countries, Thailand, Singapore, Vietnam, Taiwan, Malaysia, India, all way above the average, which clearly says that people are still wanting to treat themselves, except it's no more about luxury. It's about finding little pleasures, and those are winning over over the luxuries in life. 2 years back, when this slide was presented, it said Asia pleasures 81% and luxury was 80%. As you can see, that number from 80 has now come down to 69. People are also saying that modern life is very stressful, and therefore it's important to indulge yourself. If you look at the Asia average, the number there is 82, while in places like Korea, the number is as high as 97, which means that that's how high the level of stress is. So clearly, any brand that can, create a balance in somebody's life and can take out the stress is a brand that's likely to succeed in Asia Pacific. And internationally, there are lots of examples of brands now beginning to do that. There's a delightful story on Charming Bath Tissue. They installed 20 temporary bathrooms in New York, offering literally temporary bathroom facilities, baby changing stations, stroller parking, all kinds of things. Diesel, which recently did something at a Dutch festival for a music festival. They provided fresh towels. They created something called the 1 hour happy shower. They provided free underwear, free showers to people. And then if you look at the last visual, it's Rabobank in the Netherlands. Again, becoming close to the consumer, taking some stress out. When you go to the beach, where you're going to keep all your belongings. So here's something that they've done. They've actually created these huge digital locks where you can keep your belongings. The second big sort of trend that we're seeing is transparency. And I think the world needs to start, and brands need to demystify themselves. And clearly it's knowledge over enigma. And as you can see, this is actually a logo, an ad here in New Zealand and Australia. It's a very large organization there. They actually demystified and talked about what their organization is beginning to stand for. And as you'll see, consumers are looking for knowledge. And obviously the internet is playing a huge role. As you know, in China, there are already 300 million users. There are close to 150 million bloggers. So imagine the influence that they can have in either creating or destroying brand value. And clearly Asians are focused on looking for answers, and therefore another trend we are seeing is that packaging needs to start to reflect more transparency in what the consumer is looking for. Consumer ethnographics, if you look at retail, consumers want to shop online. They hate the fact that they are going to be interrupted. When they shop online, I can shop without interruptions from the salesperson. It enables me to pick the product according to my need. As you can see, there are drawings saying, no thanks, leave me alone. So clearly, online shopping is becoming more and more important. As you can see, 69% of the Chinese are doing online shopping, as much as 51% of the Indians who go online shopping, which is pretty much the average in Asia, is the 51%. And I want to show you something which is quite charming. Who would have ever thought that you could sell an insurance product using gaming? And that's really what has been done by AXA.
called a turning point contest. It's easy now. You just go about making the usual decisions in life within a virtual world. Whether it's a financial protection or savings plan or a simple everyday purchase, you call the shots.
Here's a great example of actually demystifying a product. The insurance product is full of little aspects, people don't understand it. The target consumer doesn't have the time to go through all the fine print, wants to find out for themselves, and we saw how quickly the digital medium is actually educating people. You create a game, you create something that you want to play, and you give away insurance, and you see the results quite well. The third sort of trend that we're seeing is basically good old-fashioned values over fads. And if you ask consumers what are they looking for in brands, nothing beats integrity and substance. These are very high scores across Asia. These are really the top 7 or 8, 9 things that consumers look for in brands. And trustworthy, and again, one would think in Asia you would expect good value for money right on top, but it's not. Because the consumer is looking for something that's trustworthy and that's credible. Again, the Asian consumer we find, especially in the downtown, is not willing to experiment, is not willing to change, and she often ends up buying the same product. And therefore, we are seeing very high loyalty scores across Asia Pacific on most brands. So really, what brands need to do is highlight the benefit of spending a little more to buy quality, to be positive and show confidence, and to reframe the quality equation. I'm going to show you an example of how somebody has actually highlighted the benefit of spending a little more quality.
Driven by primordial instinct, the salmon hurled themselves upstream. Given the countless hazards of this journey, only the fittest, richest tasting red salmon make it this far, which is why others, driven by instincts of their own, are living. John West endures the worst to bring you the best.
Let's see how you can show positiveness and confidence.
Economies are a little rough now, and it's just brutal. It's times like these that E-Trade can really help you replan your investments. Gives you the tools and research, take control, rise up. Dude, no.
West.
Stop.
Well, I can't flexible lives.
It's not the venue.
It's inspiration.
Please.
Fine.
Okay, where was I?
Control the world's most powerful investing machines there is. Join the 1,000 new accounts a day at E-Trade.
Again, you see this theme constantly. It's demystifying, it's making life simple for the consumer. And again, to reframe the quality equation, and this has been one of the most remarkable pieces of communication, very simple. 3 hours of time spent in a salon versus fast track in 3 minutes. Now, this is what you mean by reframing the value equation. The value equation does not necessarily mean money. It means becoming a friend of the consumer. Here you are creating time. We talked about the life and work balance. And here's a great example of how a marketer can actually create that value for a consumer. The fourth trend that we're seeing is really Asian over Western. And it's interesting, if you put a question, I try to buy products made in the country whenever I can. The other interesting score you see here in the next slide is that the China scores are very different, and this is really a function of the melamine scare. This score was very different last year. It shows you how, again, one scare can make people change their point of view. So while the other scores are significantly higher, you can see there's a trend in Asia where people want to buy Asian products in China because of minimum scale, people are looking for really alternatives. So clearly, in summary, the Asian consumers are reassessing their brand choices, and we think for marketers the four big stories are to deliver engaging stories, to do experience of opportunism, to be transparent, to be authentic, and to read themselves to the Asian culture. And with that, I'll hand you over to Edmond, who's going to run you through a case study of one of Singapore's most iconic brands, by the way. Edmond.
Good afternoon. Just a quick show of hands. How many of you kind of flew in from Singapore, out of your own home country to Singapore to participate in this? Oh, perfect. Have you heard of Tiger Beer by any chance? Yeah. That's great. Okay, so I can start my presentation now. What I'd like to do in the next about 15 minutes is just a quick outline of Tiger, how it all started and where we are today. Yeah? So it's actually very much a local boiling group. I'll share with you a clip, about 5 minutes, that gives a very quick overview of the brand, how it all started in 1952, and how it has actually grown to where we are today. So just enjoy this clip before I'll share with you the rest of the presentation. Okay, that's the end of my presentation. Thank you. I think it's a good summary of where the brand all started and where we are today.